direct us.
I'm not directing anything.
Okay.
Here we are. We're doing this interview. It's on. We're recording, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just taking it up. We're here with Don and Deb Yarian, and we're gonna do this thing. 3 years in the waiting or whatever, right? Actually, you guys 2 years ago, right, or something like that.
Something
Right.
like that.
Yeah, and it's
So
hard
I
to-
just want to say that this is under protest.
right. I am against this in every aspect of my life.
He's only here to monitor my, my
Right. Make sure you.
responses.
You told me he's gonna be your memory. That you need him in this
He
interview
is
because your
here.
memory's shit.
Is.
He's
It
gonna-
is.
We're in
Right.
trouble.
So
This will be a
you guys
short
can-
interview then.
You guys can fact check each other as well.
That's right.
And
What? That's bullshit.
totally, exactly. So I mean, I don't know. I've never interviewed two people at once, so we can just do this sort of thing. I normally ask everybody their first it's sort of contact with tattooing, like with tattoos or whatever. Their first thing of how they got into tattoos, their first time they saw a tattoo or something like that.
I was assaulted by a biker gang. No, I'm sorry, I wasn't. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
You go first.
Well, the only one in my family, my dad and, this is a good story. My dad and uncle had tattoos. That's it, because it was illegal when I was in New York. I'm from New York City, so I was in the midst of, I'm not sure, 60 whatever to 90 whatever. It was illegal in the city to get tattooed.
Right.
So my dad and uncle had gotten tattooed, and my dad's name is Tommy, and he started going out with my mom when he was a teenager. She was 14, he was 17, and her name is Gay. So he got Gay Tommy on his arm and didn't get the ends, thinking that he'd play it safe in case. So for 30 years he had Gay Tommy on his arm.
Because back
Killer.
then, gay men happened.
Yeah,
Killer.
exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So he had that, and my uncle, had a naked girl. They both got tattooed in Coney Island.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and one got tattooed. My uncle got tattooed in the Bowery too. So, and he got the pin-up girl, and that my grandmother had made him put a bikini on her.
Of course.
Yeah, and
The never-ending saga.
Right, and he could dance and make her dance on his arm. So that's my earliest memories of tattooing.
And did you love them? Did you think they were great?
She was entertaining, and that was my dad's joke.
Right.
But nobody I knew was getting tattooed, and then when I was a teenager, none of my friends were getting tattooed. It wasn't like how in other cities people were running to the local tattoo parlor. There were no local tattoo parlors.
Right.
So, except Tony Polito was underground then, so some people went to him. But mainly people went outside to Long Island or upstate, and looking back, I was a teenager, I think 18 years old, and a girl I knew had gotten tattooed by a guy named Lenny Weber, who was from Bricktown, New Jersey, and he's not there anymore, but he's somewhere, he passed away. But
He's somewhere.
but I saw a couple of long stem roses on her back that had been in the Spalding catalog, and they were just beautiful, and Lenny did them, and I can still remember seeing she was getting dressed, and I was looking through a hole in the wall. No, she was getting dressed in a clothing store, and I remember thinking, oh, those are beautiful. And people used to take the train up there, and he'd actually collect everybody's money and leave, and then come back in a couple hours and tattoo everybody.
Oh,
So,
killer.
yeah, so that's my first memory of tattooing.
Mine is kind of similar. I'm from Cleveland originally, and Cleveland was illegal. You had to go to one of the far east suburbs, I think Willoughby or Willowick or something like that. And so it wasn't. My dad had tattoos. He was in the Army. Got him at Fort Bragg. Had his name on one forearm and a paratrooper on the other arm.
Oh, killer.
So, which I covered later after I started tattooing both of them. So yeah. And it wasn't until I joined the Army later that I ended up getting tattooed,
And where'd you get your first tattoo?
Fort Benning, Georgia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so.
That's where we met.
Yeah.
In Fort Benning, Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Have either one of you guys started tattooing yet?
Oh,
She started
yeah.
in '79.
79, okay.
Yeah.
So how did you, I guess we'll start with you because you
Right.
started
She's
before you
got
did.
10 years on me.
Right.
Only by tattoo years.
Right, now we're not talking about age.
Yeah.
God, we're not, no way we're not
Yes.
talking about that. Because he is definitely a lot older than you.
Yeah.
Actually, he is younger than me, but I just
I know, we're
look
just, we
very
don't
young.
have to tell people that.
Yeah. So,
This is movie magic.
Right, that's
Okay.
exactly right. So when did you start, how did you start tattooing?
I met somebody who was, I was an aspiring artist, you know, my whole life, and I met a tattooer. I was in a bar in Jersey and I met a tattooer who was actually the most heavily tattooed person I had ever seen up until that point, you know. And, you know, we got married and he was my oldest son's dad. And so he was a tattooer and he introduced me to tattooing. I won't say that he taught me how to tattoo, but he showed me, you know, use this, you know, this is a machine, this is where your rubber bands go, you know, don't go sideways, you know,
Right.
that kind
Yeah.
of thing. You know, those tech tips.
Right.
that-
Don't go sideways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't go sideways.
Really good rule.
Yeah, with the six flat.
Six flat.
Yeah, like that's how I started.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what you're talking about.
3 and 6 flats.
Yeah, right. So don't go sideways and use a rubber band to, you know, hold your needles in
Right.
place.
Six flats are a really good form of teaching good hand technique.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't, the
go
sideways, you can't side to
sideways.
side.
You'll see right
not good.
away.
But you watch people tattoo now and you see their bad hand technique and you're like,
You carve someone up.
you need to
Yeah,
fucking,
so-
you need to back the fuck up, Jack.
So that's how I got into it, and so I did my first tattoo. I had met the person at the end of '78, and I did my first tattoo in February of '79, and got paid.
Killer.
Yeah, we had gone cross country from the East Coast to we were driving west, and we wound up in Arizona and Phoenix, and they used to have a big dog track there, Greyhound dog track, where people would set up a flea market on the weekend.
Oh.
And he had a converted step van. And I say this, it's not like we were like, you know, behind the latrines or anything, but like Peter Tattoo, you know, who was,
Right.
you know, reputable, he set up on the weekend too. So I did my first tattoo there.
Nice.
I saw my first tattoo being done then, and I did my first tattoo. I had never, and I didn't have any yet.
No way.
No, I had no
You did your
tattoo.
first tattoo and you didn't have a single tattoo.
And I hadn't seen a tattoo being done yet.
Wow! Holy crap!
And I got paid.
And they paid me.
Yeah, and the guy knew. He knew. He was an older.
Wasn't it like a hand or something?
It was his hand. Yeah. It was,
Holy shit.
It was like an older 50, 60-year-old Latino man, and he didn't speak much English, and he wanted his wife's name or a woman's name on his arm, so I did mine.
Any woman. I don't understand
Yeah,
the woman's
no,
name.
I don't remember the name. I wish I did.
Oh, it'd be awesome. You should get
I,
tattooed on you.
I know. I wish I had a picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that on his hand, and then did some other horrible tattoos. I'm sure you know that every time I set up. So that's how I got started.
And then, what happened for the next 10 years till?
Oh.
Or do you want to go? Do you want to?
No, we'll do
Okay.
her history,
Oh.
and then when I come into the picture, that's when.
All right.
All right, I'll be quick. So the first 5 years, I called them the bad years, the awful years. Yeah, the first 5 years we came back to the East Coast. I was upstate New York. There was a head shop that had a tattoo shop in it, and they needed a tattooer, you know, because the shop stayed there and tattooers came and went. And it was upstate in a college town, so I was 19, pregnant, you know, and the tattooer that I was with would come in and out and say, okay, don't go sideways, you know,
Right.
and use your rubber bands, you know, that kind of thing. And I was all alone running the shop, all by myself.
Perfect.
Doing tattoos. So I did that. That was pretty awful. Then moved to Jersey where we opened a shop and it failed because you know you can't have a girl who doesn't know how to really tattoo sitting there running the
Right.
shop. So I was doing that, and then you know swap meets. I worked like these local like Am Jam Rendezvous.
Right, right.
The good thing though.
The Am Jam hasn't existed in a long time, right?
30 years or something. I don't. It's been a long time.
Right.
And I can remember sitting there all alone tattooing, and Sailor Fred, Sailor Barney, one of their sons, I think was. I'm not sure which one of the sons. There were Sailor Fred, Sailor Barney, and Howie the Hand. They were tattooers on the East Coast, and they came by, and I was tattooing in like the middle of a swap meet, also alone, and you know watched me work, and gave me you know like the thumbs up, so that felt pretty good.
Right.
And I was upstate New York in a state fair, and there was this carnival man who would pound nails up his nose, and
Sure.
his name was Tony DiPietro, and he ran an underground shop during the winter and bike week in Daytona.
Oh, nice.
So he invited me to go work at his shop, and when I got there, it was like maybe 81. Eric, or maybe before 84, Eric and Debbie Inksmith, Charlie Bond, Dave Zappia, who was Southpaw Tattoo, he was a left-handed guy, well, obviously, and all these people, and that Zeke came in, and you know, everybody used to go to Bike Week
Yeah, it was
to
a big
make
deal.
money for
Yeah.
Daytona. So here we were in like this. Here I am now, surrounded by people who actually know how to tattoo, and I think one of my machines stopped, you know, working. I had no idea what to do, and Eric, who is still my dear friend, helped me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is that when you met Eric Inksmith?
Yeah,
Okay.
like 81 or
81,
something.
okay.
So, and then everybody would go work Bike Week. So I did that for the first few years, and then I worked underground with Gil Monty in Daytona. Then I worked with Effie Craig, who taught Greg Christian how to tattoo, and that's what I did. And then fast forward to those biker years, the carnival years, the swap meet years, and
So, but then you came to Fort Benning
in '88.
in
Yeah.
'88.
And that's
how
when
did
we
you get
met.
to Fort? Why did you come to Fort Benning?
Oh,
Did you miss Freddie at?
Oh yeah, Paul. I had gone to my.
See, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew you're key in this. Key.
I had met Paul Rogers, so I met Paul. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like
that's
4
kinda-
years
kinda
early.
important.
That's an important part.
Right. Yeah. Let's
I
talk
had-
about
That's the
that
good
for sure.
years.
Yeah, those are the good years.
Right.
So I had met Paul through Eric,
Right.
and then I was going to work with him at his workshop in his house. At the time, some girl fuck from California, sorry, California people, but she was coming to Paul's to Jacksonville and he was paying her like $7 an hour or $15 an hour to get all of his correspondence in order, because at this point he had already decided to give his you know, all of
Letters to
his
Chuck.
letters and, you know, all of his memorabilia to donate it. So some girl was coming from California and charging him to put it together. And not that he couldn't afford it, but that's just bullshit, you
Right.
know. So I lived, you know, just right down the road. So we became very close friends, and I would go work in his workshop, but then work in his house, getting all and reading all the letters from everybody all over the world, asking for
awesome.
money and machines. Anyway,
Awesome.
so
Yeah.
you know, put all
That's a
that.
whole nother interview right there.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother.
So I met Paul, and he was my sponsor for National Tattoo Association. You know, you have to have
Right.
somebody sign for you, and at the time, and so he was my sponsor, and we went to our first convention together, my first national convention. I have been to like a couple of local ones, but he brought me to my first national convention in Bahia or San Diego.
Mhm.
So we went there. I met a guy, Fast Freddy, who
God bless.
yeah, Fast Freddy Fozzie was from Michigan, but he had worked for Bob Shaw and Colonel Todd on the Pike, and he offered me a job through Eric and Paul. I got that job, so I got on a bus from Daytona in the middle of the night and headed down to Columbus, Georgia, which is where
We met.
Fort Benning,
Yeah.
where Fort Benning is, and I, slept in the waiting room that night, and the next day there was, like 50 some odd people on a waiting list, and we tattooed every single one of them, and that's just how it went from there on in.
Oh shit.
Payday weekends.
Payday
That's
weekends.
how they used to
Oh,
be.
shit.
And I had never tattooed at that pace, I just tattooed bikers, who were
Right.
like, can
Couple here
you
and there.
come out of the bar, now we're gonna do the tattoo,
Right.
and so now here you have all these trainees and airborne and rangers, everybody lined up to get tattooed every weekend. Yeah, and like I said, a whole line of them, and then that's how I met Don.
Yes, we met in '88. I had joined the Army. To back up a little bit, I had joined the Army. I finished high school in '79, and then I had art school future. But I started making a job paying $6.53 an hour over the summer, and I was like, I could go to art school and not make this kind of money. So
Right.
I just stayed at
That
work.
was a lot of money then.
Yeah, that was
Sure.
in '79.
Yeah.
So, and then I stayed there for about 4 years, and I realized that I could retire and die doing this. So I wanted to go out and do something. So my dad was in the Army, and I knew my boss at the time had been Special Forces in Vietnam. So I decided that I was going to join the Army. And in 1983, I enlisted, went to airborne school, ranger school, spent 20 years in the Army, retired in 2002, and but after my hitch in the Ranger Battalion, I went to Fort Benning to be a Ranger instructor. And I remember seeing, and there, you'd have students 2 weeks out of the month, and you were with them like 24 hours a day for 2 weeks straight. But then the other 2 weeks, you kind of, you go in, do your PT, your physical exercise, and do a little bit of bullshit, and then you were normally off by noon. So all my money was going to strippers and drinks,
Killer.
Perfect. It was a good life, But
Sounds horrible, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god, terrible days.
It's a rough life.
That's
Those
the
are
bad years.
Those are
It's
my
for
bad
you.
years. So I remember Dale Zimmer. You had done a piece on Dale Zimmer, a big Japanese shunga, chick with her legs spread open, and
It was
I
a
saw that.
self-portrait.
Yeah, no. I saw that and I was just
Wasn't.
blown away, because like I said, in Cleveland there was no tattoo scene, it wasn't a rite of passage there, and I had gotten my first tattoo in '83 in airborne school down
Sailor
on Victory
Bill.
Drive, Sailor Bill, Sailor Bill Killingsworth, so but in '88 I had seen that piece and I went in to get tattooed by her, and the guy there, Falcon Freddy, said, no, we work by turns and it's my turn, and I wanted to get a big rib piece. I'd had a couple little tattoos. I got a little paratrooper death from above and a little dragon over on the other arm, but I wanted to get a big piece, and so he did that piece. But then the next time I went in, I made sure I was in with her, and she started on my arm, and we became good friends.
Yeah.
Hit it off really nice.
And then
wasn't
you started
well. You were
working.
still married,
And you had all the girlfriends, all the strippers.
Yeah, I had a few. So,
I had a few.
yeah.
Well, they would come into the shop when he got tattooed.
Right.
Yeah, kind of embarrassing sometimes.
Yeah, like Holly, she
Yeah.
fucking laid at his feet practically. I'm serious, like she would, while
You
I
don't
was.
do that.
Well, because it was weird for a woman tattooing.
Yeah, yeah,
At
yeah.
the time, girls were always jealous. You know what I mean?
Right,
And it
right.
was my job, but we were friends. And then,
And then you needed someone to watch Matthew
yeah,
on
My oldest
Saturday,
son.
so I volunteered. I said,
because you worked. He already had gotten hired there to start tattooing.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so.
So what made you want to start tattooing? What was the thing you were like?
Started getting
fuck,
tattooing.
Right, you were like getting tattooed.
I loved it. As soon as I got that first big piece, I was like, I'm gonna be covered.
Right.
I'm gonna be covered in tattoos. I knew that. And they offered me, I spent as much time as I could at the shop because I just loved it. As soon as I was in there, I loved being there. And to this day, I'll go on vacation. Like I went to England. I just went to the London convention, and and I didn't go sightseeing at all. I just spent all my time at the convention. I just love being around tattooers and tattooing.
Right.
It's just awesome. And you know, and that's the way it is. It either grabs you or it doesn't. You
Right.
know? So, and it really grabbed a hold of me. So I started
hadn't
watching.
hooked up yet.
No, I you know,
We
no
not,
offense,
yeah,
but
no offense.
I didn't even.
we didn't
I,
even like each other that
I mean,
way.
yeah, I didn't look at her and think, oh, you know, that's a girl.
No
that
offense
likes
to
it.
me, I was
Yeah.
totally being offended.
Yeah.
No, we weren't. No, I
Yeah.
was married. He had
Yeah.
the multiple girlfriends.
Yeah, and I liked your husband. He was nice
Oh,
enough.
get out.
No, he was
It
fun at the
It was
shop.
horrible.
Yeah, well,
No,
maybe
he-
to be married to,
Yeah,
but
just
to be at a tattoo shop with,
Yeah,
you know,
he was the
he was
life of
rough
the
around
party.
the edges and fun, you know.
Life until
yeah.
he shot all those people.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
didn't shoot all those people. He shot.
One person many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get this story, because
Yeah.
you guys briefed over it a little, kind of glazed over this thing about it.
So you know, there's tensions in the tattoo shop all the time. You know,
Our
when you work
boss,
with different.
what was his? He had this whole
Who was
cause
it?
dissension.
yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
there'll be mutiny. Who said that? You know, like you have to cause dissension in the ranks, because otherwise they'll all get together and you know,
I
like
don't
take
know.
over.
I don't
You know,
know.
like something like that. And that's how he was a riot. The guy we worked
Oh,
for.
God.
He was a maniac. He was. Like when we would go to
Real
conventions, he was real carny. He had the best sense of humor, and
Like Rodney Dangerfield.
yeah, he was like
kinda.
Rodney Dangerfield,
Yeah.
our boss, and he would come in. He lived in Michigan half the time, and so he only came down for payday weekends. So, and when he was there, you know, he would try to regain
because
his
wife was like a
prison guard. She
yeah.
was a prison
she
guard.
Did, she didn't know that.
That
Freddie
I worked there.
had a girl working for her because she knew that if there was a girl working there, Freddie was fucking her.
But he wasn't.
So he would never
wasn't.
tell her.
Yeah, she didn't know I worked there. And she was a prison guard and she was real tough. Like,
Yeah.
Louis, I hear a story like Louis, Screwy Louis Scubaris from Miami would come in and work payday weekends and like went to stay at Freddie's house and walked in and handed her his dirty laundry. But and she was like a crazy woman. So she was banned. She wasn't allowed to
Fucking
come there.
Lou.
Yeah.
That's silly fucking some Lou shit, for sure.
Yeah. So she actually after a while wasn't allowed to come to Columbus anymore. So she was in Michigan and he would come, our boss would come. And
There was a little apartment in the back, and they'd
Yeah.
sit back there and watch
porn.
animal porn and whatever they could get their hands on, you know.
Yeah.
All kind of weird shit.
And so how did that, there was just so much dissension and we were just friends and you worked the very late night shift. You were midnight.
Well, because
to 4
I
in the
had
morning.
I was in the Army, you know. My first shift was 11 at night till 3 in the morning.
Fuck's sake.
So, and then I'd get up at 5 to go run. So,
And then you
but Freddie's thing was anyone that gets a tattoo between 11 and 3 in the morning deserves what the fuck they get. You know? So I was tattooing all the drunks that fucking stumbled in
Right.
off Victory Drive because there was a strip bar 2 buildings down. There was bars all around us. So it was pretty wild times.
So
you know?
very wild.
Yeah.
And
And then the fucking frat boys would come over from
yeah,
Alabama,
right,
and
slumming.
they really thought they were slumming, you know.
Yeah,
So,
they'd come in and they'd all get like Alpha Gamma Rho or whatever.
Yeah, all the
Oh yeah, it
Greek
was funny.
letters.
They'd get the Greek letters on the inside of their left ankles, and it was really funny. I don't know the Greek alphabet, but one like a bunch of guys came in once, and one was getting his fraternity, which looked like an upside down A and a this and a that, and wound up getting a black sorority. I did it, like it was so not only did he not get a fraternity or his fraternity, he got a black sorority.
Killer.
And and all of his guys there were watching. I said, "You're all there. You're watching. It's not my fault. I'm not in your fraternity." So, but Don, my son, I had to work from 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday till almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday. We just stayed on payday weekends. We would work till the first person came, till the last person left. And so I didn't want my son at the time, how old was Matt? About 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
So Don would stay at the house on the weekends because it wasn't his shift. And so that's how we just became really good friends.
Well, that was part of the deal, was that you were tattooing me and I was watching Matt.
Yeah, so I always joke that that's the one, well, I joke that that's the arm he paid for, and you said, and you're...
This is the arm I'm still paying for.
Yeah, so, but, so one day we had a shop meeting, you know, Freddie was in town, and we had a shop meeting, and there was...
The airing of the grievances.
Yeah, it was payday weekend, it was actually June 1st, 1991, right?
Yeah.
June 1st, 1991, and then we had a shop meeting. So there was I don't really remember who was there besides Freddie, myself, my ex, and the first one who did his side,
Freddie.
The other
Freddie.
Fred, there was
Falcon
another
Freddie.
Falcon Fred, who was still in Columbus, and anyway, we came in. Freddie started going. Everybody started complaining or they're airing their grievances, and Falcon flicked his cigarette at my ex, you know, while they were in an argument, and I thought, oh, this is not going to be good. And so I actually stepped up into the bathroom, because when that happened, I thought, oh, I know what's about to happen. So I stepped into the bathroom, and he shot him 2 or 3 times in
Twice
the
in
front.
the gut and 3 times in the back as he ran away.
And
And then Falcon ran to the bathroom and
locked himself in. Don't
the
say
other
your ex's name.
yeah, the ex grabbed a claw hammer and was trying to get through the bathroom door.
Who had gotten shot? Your ex or
No.
No,
Falcon
the
Freddie.
ex
Falcon
shot
Freddie.
the.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
so and they
Falcon
yelled, stop, the police are coming, you know. So he dropped the hammer and ran out of the shop.
The ex did.
Yeah, the ex did.
The ex ran out.
And Falcon went to the hospital.
And we all went to the police station. And then we all came back because it was payday weekend and we
still
all worked.
finished the day.
We all worked. And I
But
have,
then you called me.
oh, because my son was in the house, right? I said, you have to get Matt out of the house because the police are going to come.
Gonna come to
And
the
then
house.
Red Dog came over. He's dead too. So is Sailor Bill. Red Dog was somebody who worked for Sailor Bill Killingsworth, but he was just super good. And he worked, I think he worked with Bill Loika when he was Amsterdam Willie. Bill used to be Amsterdam Willie in Columbus, Georgia. And they worked for Sailor Bill. And Sailor Bill is pretty notorious as a you know, a bad
Nefarious
guy.
character.
Yeah, he shot a girl in the face. This is on record. He shot a girl in the face, right? In the shop.
And paid some
it was
undisclosed amount.
Yeah, like
off.
almost $1 million, didn't go to jail. So, you know, they had a fund a few years for him. Sorry about this, everybody. For Sailor Bill, you know, before he died or whatever. And thought maybe had he not shot that girl,
He'd have all
he'd
that money
have
still.
almost $1 million.
Right.
You know? And we
But that was always his thing, pay me or fight me, you know.
yeah, pay me or fight me.
Yeah.
That was it. You know, he would do like an airborne tab with air in the tab and born
outside the tab, you know.
Yeah, and he had was like a bucket. What is that called? Those mop and
A
sponge
shop.
sponge shop.
Yeah.
And my customers, if any of our customers stopped at that shop, you never saw them again. They never got to your shop, like if they were coming from out of town.
Right.
So, so we all went to
Police.
to the police station, and then I called you.
And I brought Matt there because we were.
No, I thought we brought him to the airport.
That's right. Took him right
And
to
he
the
went
airport.
to Inksmith. So he went down to Jacksonville, my son. He was 11.
Yeah.
And went to stay with Eric, and the ex left town, and then and actually he went and worked up at Bill Loika's.
Nice.
During Alias. Well, and I found out last night because I ran, I saw the Gibsons, and I said, what was his name? His name was Marco or something.
I'm trying to say it's some sort of.
Yeah.
I can't remember Marco.
Yeah, it was Marco while he was in Deep River.
Nice.
And yeah, so and then I brought him his stuff. I did bring him his equipment. This is 22 years ago. You don't get in trouble as an accessory, do you?
No, statute
Yeah.
of limitations 7 years.
Well, I
Pretty
brought
sure any of the
No one
cops.
died,
Yeah,
so
no, it's fine.
Yeah, I
You're
brought
okay.
him his stuff, and that's was a sad thing because I wanted to work at Bill's shop. And he built me a station, thank you, Bill, and it was very nice of him, but I was gonna get a divorce, I wasn't gonna stay there anymore.
With the man that shot somebody and
Yeah,
tried to
5
attack him with a
times.
claw hammer, yeah.
Right, and I
But
didn't wanna
it's
go.
weird.
And I
Weird, you don't want to be with somebody like that. Totally weird.
And I didn't wanna
Picky.
live under with an alias name or anything,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
on the run.
Yeah, well, then the Marco would have fit in, cause then I could, you know, I could be his cover, you know, his
Yeah.
beard, so I went, there, bought him his equipment, and then what happened to you there? And what was happening back in Columbus, Georgia, that's how we wound up getting together.
Oh, that wasn't for a while. You mean when I got fired?
Yeah, that was like a week later or
Oh,
something.
well, I was just working late, and Freddie had a cousin, Robin,
He's
one
still
arm.
there somewhere,
Yeah,
one-armed
yeah,
guy.
one arm guy lost his hand in a
Tattooing.
No, he
You
tried
went-
tattooing.
Oh, fuck, I was so fucking honest.
He tried it.
That's awesome.
It didn't work too well for him, you know.
Uh-huh.
But he had lost his hand in some press accident.
And the thumb
So
on the
Freddie,
other hand.
yeah,
Holy
and,
shit.
Yeah, and so Freddie brought him, and he ran the floor, and he was just like Freddie, though, real gruff, and you know, talked to soldiers,
You know,
bossed
he'd
them around.
Clip at them with
Yeah,
his
yeah,
arm.
fucking stump fuck you, you know, and
Yeah.
that kind of shit, you know, and the soldiers loved it, you know, they were used to being yelled at and stuff, so I was just talking to him, he was mopping up the shop, it was late at night, and I was just saying, you know, I don't know why Freddie fired Deb, you know, 'cause
Oh, yeah, I got fired.
she got fired because her ex shot the guy,
Right.
so, you know, and I was just talking to him about it and saying, I don't know why he fired her, you know, she was the most loyal person he had at this shop, you know,
And I
he's
didn't
not gonna,
carry a gun.
and the best tattooer, you know, so,
Thank you.
you know, all of a sudden Freddie and Robin went like this and he shook his head and Freddie comes out of the back, you know, in his fucking boxers carrying a 45 and fucking starts yelling at me about being a loudmouth and fucking get my shit and get the, you're fucking fired too, you know, and
Oh, Jesus.
so that was how I got fired
At
there.
least you didn't get shot though.
He wouldn't have shot me.
No, but he was, you know, like what is that?
Brandishing a weapon?
Yeah,
Yes.
brandishing. So you got my equipment.
Yep, we got everything out of there and then thankfully Rocket Rick hired us.
Oh, that was the funny with the sign,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There
So
was,
we went over to Rocket. There was another tattooer
Well,
who had
Freddie
left
had-
Freddie before.
Yeah,
You
his
know.
name is Richard Hincher, Rocket Rick, Sneakin' Deacon. He had a few
You
names.
pick.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah. His Richard Hincher is his regular name,
Yeah,
I think.
I think he's in Arizona now.
Somewhere there.
But he was really super nice. He hired us on and
We
let us
needed a
work.
job. I
Yeah.
mean, at the time, I had a $1,000 a month mortgage, and at that time, that was 1990. That's a lot of money in
Right.
in there. I had, you know,
In
maybe.
Georgia, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
we had, you know, we worked really hard, sometimes 70, 80 hours a week, you know, from the minute you got up to the minute you went to sleep, and then some days you didn't do anything,
Yeah.
Right.
you
A lot
know,
of
for
days you didn't do
days, a
anything.
lot of days. But
Yeah.
when you did, like I moved there.
When it
in-
rained, it poured.
Right, I
You
moved
know?
there, and this is not how it is anymore, but when I
Yeah.
moved there in, I think, May, and I said, okay, we're gonna stay here in August, and I bought my house in October. So, and I paid cash for most of my down payment, for my down payment, you know, which was sizable at the time, and, you know, we had you know, we, like you said, when it rained, it poured. And so but then I lost my job, so now how am I supposed to take care of anything and pay
Right.
my house?
Right.
So I never would have gone to the other guy in town, or, you know, neither
No.
would you. But you you didn't get hired
Oh,
at
that's
that
right.
Rocket Ridge, you
I
went
worked
to
at
that.
Tiger Rose.
There was a shop that, do you remember Robbie West?
Oh, that's the,
Yeah, well, he worked on he worked for Eric.
On the west side of
But
Jacksonville.
it was Robbie and Nikita, they worked in Fort Bragg. It was he and his wife.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they worked at Fort Bragg, and he was an ex-Special Forces.
Yep.
And they had a shop, and then he opened a shop in Columbus. But I went to Rocket Rick, and he went to
Tiger Rose.
Tiger Rose. And so Rick got a big marquee outside that said, you know, yay, Deborah's here, you know, come get tattooed, something like that. And then Freddie got a big marquee, you know, those things that sit out on the street.
With the
you know.
arrow, the flashing lights.
Yeah. Who the fuck is Debbie and who the fuck cares?
Oh, killer! That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sour grapes.
Yeah. And
Who
then,
the fuck
we
is
were.
But before Freddie died,
That should be your
we
business
did-
card.
Yeah.
By the way, who the fuck is Debbie and who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
But before Freddie died, you guys made amends and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, my ex wanted remember he wanted us to run the shop. He wanted to buy the shop from Freddie, like after he got out of jail or something like that, or before he went to jail. He did get caught, by the way, and wanted us to manage it after we got married. I thought, well, that's not happening.
Right, yeah.
So we, that was the Columbus years.
Yeah, that was the Columbus years, and then
And then we were friends, and then we decided, you know, we neither one of us really liked anybody else more than we liked each other. We were just real good friends, and so
a
that's
marriage
it.
of attrition.
Yeah, we were just good friends, and then we got married and started working together.
Yep.
And then he came over to Rocket Rick Shop.
Yep,
Which
came
was
to
in
Rocket Rick
Georgia.
Shop, and then we left there,
And we went to
and we
Fort-
basically followed my military path from there. We went.
Right, you were gonna get out of the Army though.
Was going to get out of the Army,
At 7 years
but
in.
you wanted to have babies.
Yeah, we decided to have a family, so, we thought it'd be a good thing to have insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And everybody, everywhere we went, was super happy that they had somebody tattooing
An
that was
active
in the
duty guy
military.
tattooer.
'Cause-
Right.
So
and you were already in an NCO already.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and I loved the Army too. You know, I loved the Army not as much as tattooing, but I loved what I did in the Army. You know, it was always great fun for me.
And all the soldiers respected the fact that he was an NCO, that he was a Ranger, the whole career they felt.
Right, can't be bad for business when you're
Well,
tattooing
no,
the military.
no.
Right.
You can't be
So
having a
we
military
left-
guy working
We
there.
left and went to
Fort Campbell.
Fort Campbell.
Which is Dad Shaw had been there, Todd had been there.
But it was illegal for any soldier or against regulations for any soldier from Fort Campbell to even go into a tattoo shop
in Kentucky.
or Tennessee. So
At the time.
you know, I worked kind of underground there. I didn't work a lot there, you know, but I would work late at
You
night.
had a
and-
shift.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
shift, but it was kind of underground
Yeah.
and low key. I couldn't, promote myself like,
Right.
But she worked and Chris and James
Oh, yeah.
at Dancing Dragon.
Dancing Dragon it was right
There
outside
was
of the gate.
they were like the only show in town outside,
Yeah,
and
Chris-
soldiers would still come in, there's always rule
Right,
breakers
sure,
everywhere
sure.
you go. So
Chris Pavlicek and James Phillips. They gave us a job. They were really great
super
guys.
nice.
They had learned there, and it was illegal. And they actually went and petitioned to the
Commanding
post
general,
commander
and now there's
opened
40
up.
shops in Clarksville.
Of course, it's all-
And
they-
everybody, nobody gives a shit about them, and they say, "I don't go down to that shop." But they're
Yeah.
great. They were great people. And they had They were really nice to us.
Yes.
And they hired
Good
us.
good to our family.
Yeah. And then we started having a big family.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
Yeah.
we got married in 91.
Yes, we did.
We got married in 91, and we had a baby in 92, 93, 97, 99, and 2001. So,
Bang.
and
bang.
and we had already had my oldest son,
Right.
Matthew. So we had boy, 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 girl, boy.
Yes.
And Rocket Rick let us put a playpen in the back room and let our oldest son come and watch our new baby while we tattooed.
That's pretty killer.
Yeah.
Can you tell the funny Sergeant Bunny story about Rocket Rick? It was so funny.
Oh well, you were getting ready to tattoo this girl, and
She
was
was
a drill
She
sergeant.
was
or
a drill
sergeant.
sergeant.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Killer.
And her husband was also military.
And he was there, and he was a drill
Yeah, they were
sergeant.
there
too.
getting tattooed by you, and something. They were talking about when Rick tattooed a bunny. Were you covering up the bunny? Or,
I don't know. It was so
But they talked
funny.
about the bunny, and they relayed the fact that Rick said, "I have to see your nipples to see what color I need to do the bunny, whether I need to do it pink or brown.
And I started laughing.
And she lifted up her shirt and
No,
showed.
he took her into
Yeah,
the
took her
back
in the back.
room while her husband was standing there, and I'm hysterical laughing when they
Yeah,
told
we're
her.
Right, 'cause you
laughing.
know it's just
You know,
fucking
yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah,
like-
just tattoo or bullshit, and they're like, what? That's not normal.
I mean, and the tattoo was like on her ankle or
Yeah.
something, you know.
I was like, I gotta use that.
Yeah,
Totally.
Yeah. So that was when all right. We went Fort Benning Army shop, Fort Campbell Army shop. Then where'd we go?
Well, we lost our son.
Oh yeah,
I
we
wanted to
lost one
definitely
of our
mention that.
sons, and
Yeah.
that's the only time we sort of took a break in
So,
tattooing.
well, what it was I had gotten orders to go to Korea unaccompanied. I was going to go away for a year by myself, newborn son, and you know, they aren't. It's too bad you're going. So
Yeah, you
our
got it
son-
delayed so that you could stay home to have the baby.
right. I got to have the baby, but right after the baby was born, I was going to have to leave.
So I arranged for
the baby-
babies. I was going back to work because our babysitter said that while he was deployed, she would watch him. So I was going to work like a shift, like Thursday, Friday from noon to midnight or something like that. And the shop was cool with it, and you know, and it was the first day back at the babysitter. My first day back to work, we brought the baby to the babysitter, and that's when he passed away.
Yeah. So they deleted my orders to Korea, but they said you got to choose somewhere. You got to go. You can't stay here. You've already signed out of the unit. You got to go. So we chose Fort Polk. Our dear friends Kevin and Scarlett had moved to Fort Polk, and we wanted to be here in Louisiana. So we went there, and that was 3 dark years.
Yeah, that
you know.
was
It was a
tough
great
years.
job, great for the Army, great for the family, but tattooing was dead. We lived in a town of
and there was
10,000 people.
Mike Laporte
Mike
he's
Laporte.
been tattooing, I guess, now 40 years or so.
Great
and
guy.
He was super nice. He hired us.
He hired me, and I went in for my first shift, and no one walked in the door. And at the end of the shift, he went to give me $20. Here's for coming, and I'm like, you know, that's not how it works. You know,
And
you
besides,
get
he
paid
was
when you
getting
work.
paid in the Army, you know.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? If you need me because you need a day off or you're going to go on vacation, I'll come in and cover for you. I said, but I don't need to come down here and take money that you need, you know, because he had like 40 dogs he had to feed and
Yeah,
shit.
he was a
So,
And so that was only 3 years. So that was like
3 years,
that
and
was
then we
the only
moved
time.
to
Anchorage.
Alaska.
Anchorage, Alaska.
Right,
Yeah.
which is where we are
State
now.
your flag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, is that when you left the military?
I
was
went
last
there
duty
and I
station.
fucking hated my job in the military there.
In
It was-
Anchorage.
In,
It was
in,
the
in
first
Alaska.
desk
Okay, that's how
job.
you end up there with get through the military.
Yeah, they brought me up there, and it was a fucking miserable job. They put me behind a desk. You know, I didn't have a rucksack. I didn't wear camouflage anymore. I didn't jump out of planes anymore. It was fucking horrible.
You did jump out of. You were still
Not
on
at
jump
Fort.
status.
Not Fort Richardson.
You were still on jump status. Remember? Did you
No.
hurt your back there?
Yeah, no, I broke my back at Fort Polk,
Oh,
and then I jumped
Louisiana.
one more time after I broke my back, and that was it for my jumping career. You know, and
Yeah, but
then
it
we
was
moved.
17 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
jumping.
17 years on jump status, and then I spent 2 years there, and I retired from the military. You know,
But
the
we
full
were
benefits.
working. So you
Yeah,
worked.
Larry hired us. Larry
you-
Allen,
You
Anchorage
worked
Tattoo.
for 12 years in the Army and tattooing. So, like, he would be in the Army all day and then have a shift or weekends and nights for 12 whole years so that
Right.
we could have
It's a
our
lot.
family.
Yeah.
It was,
Well,
but
and,
it was your
and
good
it wasn't
time.
just so that for my family. I mean, I love tattooing.
No, but I mean, the
I really-
Army.
You're like, I love the military
And
and I
I
love
don't want to
tattooing.
say that
That's
I
the
would have
best of both.
tattooed for free, but I might have tattooed for free, you know?
Right.
I mean, I really loved tattooing, and I still just love tattooing people.
I would say that too. You know, at one point, or in my first 10 years of tattooing, there was a point where I wanted to get away or be away, you know, from the shooter. And from the
Said shooter.
The shooter.
yeah, no, he's already been to jail for it and
Right.
everything, and served his time. And the other guy's okay and still tattoos in Columbus, Georgia, but I thought about it. There were many times where I thought if I went away, I'd have to run away and I'd have to like change my name or something.
Right.
And then I thought I won't be able to tattoo. Where can I go? You
Yeah,
know,
the
it was
tattoo
so
was so small back
small.
then. You know?
And there might have been somebody who said, okay, you know, you could go as Rosarita or something,
Right.
you know.
Rosarita and Marco.
Yeah. But I didn't want to, and so I really didn't want to leave tattooing. And then we had already, we'd started going to conventions, before that happened. And that's where my friends were. And those were not his friends. We had definitely different friends when we'd go to conventions together. And I was very close with Paul, not my ex, and so for me, tattooing, it really was my whole life, and it was my refuge for the 10 years prior to us getting married, and then when we got married, it was something that we both loved so much together.
We shared it. So.
And it's everything we do when we go to other towns. We go on vacations, but so many of our time away is at tattoo shops or with tattoo friends. We went to Chicago twice this summer, which was a big trip, and to go to see Nick and Eric and Mario and down and Frank and who else?
Don't worry about it.
No, but I just what I mean. So Mike Dalton and everybody there, and we loved going there. We went July and August, so we do our vacations revolve around that. So we got to Alaska in 2000, and we loved it. As soon as we got there, we decided that's where we wanted to stay, and Larry Allen has been there since '75, and we got the job there.
Yep, and worked there, and
you worked a big.
Yeah.
For the last 2 years of your military career, you were really working, because I worked a full shift, and you worked a full shift.
Yeah, I'd get off at the Army at 5, and then my shift was from 6 to 9 at Larry's every night, and then all day Saturdays.
Yeah.
So
I worked
pretty
all
busy.
week, and Saturdays too. Yeah.
And then I went to see Henning. Henning had said it would be okay if I came over and worked in 2008. In the summer of 2008, I went over. Well, we had
been working for Larry for 8 years, and that was a super busy.
And we live in Eagle River, which is about a half hour north of Anchorage, and we saw a little shop for rent near our house, less than a mile from our house. And she said, we should check that out. And I said, I'm not ready to open up our own shop or anything, but we checked it out. And as soon as we walked into the place, I saw our shop. It was one of those moments. So we put money down on it, and I went to Henning's and worked and got tattooed, and I talked to him a lot about how do I tell Larry that I'm leaving, and because I had already had one bad experience getting fired from the tattoo shop, and I didn't imagine that it would be that bad with Larry, but I could see
well, you
get
want to
your
do it
shit
right.
and get the fuck
Absolutely.
out.
You want to do it right. You don't be disrespectful about it.
And Henning really helped me out.
Tell how great Larry is with us.
And so I came back, and I called Larry, and I said, can you come into the shop early one day? I need to talk to you about something. He said, what's it about? I said, I'd rather talk to you in person, And so he
immediately knew what that was.
Yeah, well, no, he didn't, because when he got there, he's like, "What's up?" And I said, I don't know how to say this, but Deb and I put money down on a little place out in Eagle River, and I think we're gonna open up our own shop out there.
That's where our family is.
Yeah, and he's like, that's it? He said, I thought you and Deb were getting divorced, or someone was sick or something,
Oh, awesome.
And he said, no, that's great. He goes, you guys have given me more than I could have asked for.
8 years.
8 years.
8 years.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Yeah. So
and remember when I was
still
sick,
be there. I would still work.
Yeah,
for
I would
Larry.
still work for him too. But I had gotten very sick for 2 years and had a series of operations and treatments, and he was so great that
wouldn't take a PC
he
for a
wouldn't
month.
take a PC when I came back from being out from being in the hospital. He
Wow.
wouldn't, and I was like, no, I have to pay my PC, and he was like, absolutely not.
Right.
Didn't take a PC for a month, and then when he let us build our shop.
He said, yeah, good luck to you. You know, if you need any help, he said, I have some spare equipment up in the garage. You know, some chairs and tables and stuff. He said,
Yeah,
if you need help building it up,
chairs.
you know, no problem. He said if it doesn't work out, you're always welcome to come back.
If
He
we
said
need
if
a
it's slow,
vacation.
you can come in on Saturdays and work to help support the new shop.
Wow.
And you can book clients from my shop. And
Which
this was
we
in
did.
July, I told him, and we weren't leaving until September. And he said you can book your clients into your new shop. So when we opened our new shop, I already had 2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
of bookings.
Right.
So
Wow.
it was, you
And
know,
they sent us, and that Christmas, because he has an annual Christmas party, we still are invited to the Christmas parties, and we got our Christmas bonus.
that year. We left in
That year.
September and still got our Christmas bonus that year.
Wow, that's
So
really
that's
cool.
pretty
That's
incredible.
really that's
You know,
super
a lot of
cool,
people,
right?
And Larry is he apprenticed under, and not under, but he apprenticed for Cliff Raven.
Right. No, specific with that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
He-
that's killer.
Yeah, he apprenticed for Cliff Raven and
Where at?
in Hollywood.
In Hollywood.
Yeah, in Hollywood, but he also would go out. He got a lot of work and was friendly with the Dutchman.
John.
So
Wow.
he has a lot of work from him, and he was also featured in Ed's
Tattoo Time.
like the early Tattoo Time. And you
Yeah.
know, if you ever said Alaska, Larry Allen was
Right.
the
Right,
name.
right.
Yeah, because I at one point in my early in my tattooing. Like 5 years in, 6 years in, I had thought about moving, and at the time, I remember Crow used to have that, like he'd
Ancient
open a
Arts,
shop,
yeah.
Ancient Art for you, and you
Pay him 50%
or
the rest of
whatever.
your life
He'd
or
put the
something.
money out, and then you know, which was very was a novel idea at the
Right.
time.
Right,
You
sure.
know,
Yep.
usually just
Right.
people just work for themselves or whoever, but he would open it up or finance you the money, and so I had looked at. Alaska and Anchorage at the time, but you know, no computers or anything, so
Right.
you know, you had to go to
It's
the
totally
library,
different.
yeah.
Yeah, very different
Yeah.
back then. Yeah, before the Google search
Right.
came
Right.
around.
Right,
Yeah,
so you
fuck
know,
yeah.
and you know, Anchorage, Paul was in Anchorage, Paul,
Lyle, we just talked to Lyle
Yeah.
this weekend, and he had owned the shop, had rented a shop, and he had left, and he
Sold
said like
it.
a week later the earthquake came and it was like sunken into the ground.
yeah.
So he's
But
got some good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lyle was there, Don Nolan, Tom, and his
Tom Yeoman.
Tom Yeoman, who's I don't know whether he's his cousin or his brother, I don't remember. But Don Nolan, Tom Yeoman's Huck and Paul, everybody, they all worked in Anchorage. They all went to Anchorage and
Right.
left, and only we.
Larry.
Mr.
Well, you know,
Yeah, it's tough there, you know.
it's tough though. The winters are long and dark. You know.
And that's why we have so many children.
Totally.
Only
Yeah.
one was born in Alaska.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Tell me the story about your kids. This is the
Yeah.
best part of it.
We,
Oh.
yeah,
Everybody in the family.
yeah.
is-
There's 8 of us. So Don and I and 6 of our children, and we're all born in a different states. So Don is from Cleveland, Ohio, Brooklyn, New York. Our Matthew's from Patterson, New Jersey. Nicholas is Martin Army Hospital, Fort
Georgia.
Benning, Georgia. One son's from Clarksville, Tennessee. The next son is from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. My daughter's from Fort Polk, Louisiana. And my youngest son, who's here at the convention, is from
Anchorage, Alaska.
Fort Richardson.
Fort Richardson.
Fort Richardson, Alaska.
Yes, if that was me, my kids would all have nicknames due to the state.
Yeah.
Buckeye. And
Totally. That's gonna be- Listen up, Indiana. Hold on. Put your Legos away, Indiana. Would not be.
Yeah. So we had our whole big family, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to open our shop.
Right, because Larry's is a family shop. Larry worked there. His
His ex-wife.
Judy,
Who
worked
he's
there.
allowed to work there for 26 years, and they haven't been married for all those years.
Yeah, and they get along really great.
Yeah.
That's
and
killer.
actually,
Yeah.
and actually,
And it just says more about his character.
Right.
He's a fucking super
and
guy.
and I guess when the shop, when anything happens to him and he leaves his shop, part of it will
Well, and
go
his
to
son and daughter work there too.
His son and daughter both tattooed there, and his ex-wife, and part of the shop will go to his ex-wife, which is just super nice.
Right.
And so,
So, but we knew that our children would never fit in there. I mean,
Right.
we'd never be able to bring our kids in there. It just wasn't the room, you know.
or
it's not a
near
big
there,
shop.
we're not even near there, you know,
Right.
my kids would have to travel to
Yeah, they
there.
couldn't get there till they drove. So,
Yeah.
So when we opened the shop, it was
Walking distance from our house.
No,
with that
Yeah.
thought in mind of you know, Nick, who's 21 now, he works with us, and Matt had been working at different shops in the Anchorage area, and now we opened up our own shop and we brought them all together. So we're all four of us work together now.
And when we first opened, we had a room specifically for our children, because the elementary schools are right across the street from our shop.
Yeah, walking
So
distance.
that, I think 3 of them at the time, or 2 of them could walk across,
after school, come
After
over,
school.
go to the room in the back, do their homework, and then watch some TV or
and
play
we
some
could
video
lock
games.
them in and
Yeah.
but they were set up for them and with them in mind, and then all of our children can walk there from the house or school, and all of our children have worked there, even our younger ones, rather than paying, we don't give them allowance, they have to come clean the shop.
Clean the shop, answer phones.
Right.
You know, not the tubes and things, you know.
Right, yeah. You got the 12-year-old in there
Scrubbing tubes.
You know, but they, you know, mop the floors and,
Right.
and answer phones, and, you know, so people are, it is.
Run errands.
It's a neighborhood, you know, kind of feel, people really love
It's
that.
a small town, like 25,000 people.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's pretty small.
Yeah, I mean, the whole state of Alaska only has 600,000, or 700,000 people.
No kidding.
The
Yeah.
whole state,
The whole state.
you know,
Wow.
and you know how big it is.
God,
Yeah.
I think it's the population of San Francisco.
You know,
so.
somebody told me it was millions.
In San Francisco?
11 million or
Fuck,
something.
no, it's not.
No,
No,
that's
that's
New
LA
York.
shit. That's
Yeah.
some,
Oh,
that's
well,
some
the
LA.
cab- Well, it was a cab
No,
driver.
I know there was 1 million, and then one of the mayors was trying to get it up to 2.5 million.
The cab
And
driver.
then I was like, where the fuck are you gonna put these people?
Yeah,
like, there's
exactly.
nowhere to.
Yeah,
San Francisco can't get bigger. It's not LA. You can't.
All
It's
you can do
only.
is build up.
It's on a fucking point, man. There's nowhere to go.
I had a cab driver the other day. He told me there were like there's 11 million people here, and I
No
thought,
way.
really? Wow.
No way.
Well, it was the other day too.
I mean, 1 million people. I mean, San Francisco is 49 square miles.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not.
Well,
It's,
you,
or it's like some really small. It's not that big. And you start talking about South San Francisco and Daly City. The city of San Francisco is pretty fucking small, man. You could literally almost walk
Right.
across it, no
Yeah.
problem.
oh,
Easy.
really?
Yeah, you could walk across town. One direction, you can walk across, no problem. You're going lengthwise,
Right.
it would take you a
Take a
while.
little while.
You gotta walk all the way through Golden Gate Park, all that shit. But I mean, it's pretty.
Alaska is so big though that how big is it? No, it's so big really that I think each person can have like certain square mileage.
Right,
Each
it's-
person, if
I
you
think the only
separate-
state that's less populated is Wyoming, something like that. But now with the oil boom going on, who knows? You know.
Right.
And so
825,000.
825,000 people. Let's Google.
Oh,
Fucking Google.
okay.
Google.
Futures
You
now,
don't-
man.
You don't have to know shit anymore.
Right.
You know
You don't
everything
have
you
to
know. You need to know is
Okay,
right
so
there.
there are more people in the state of, I mean, in
San
San
Francisco
Francisco,
than
the
there is
city,
the entire
than in
state
the
of Alaska.
entire state of Alaska.
Man, I
Like
live in Alaska.
our daughter
Yeah,
goes
it's, you
to
know.
boarding school in the interior, and she is, there's 400 and some odd people in the city, what's not called the city, it's
It's
the
the
village.
Right.
The 400 people in the village, 200 in the schools, 200 students. So, and there's, no
It's basically a
one's-
village built for a school.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah. And,
It's basically a
right.
school, and there's 200 people watching 200 kids.
Right,
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
And,
It's man on man on there. Man on man defense.
It's one to one.
and there's no way in or out other
by
than
plane,
or
Boat in the summertime, snow machine in the winter.
and most of Alaska is like that. You know, most of Alaska from Anchorage, you could drive.
Well, that's the
to one
saying
end.
is Alaska is 20 minutes from Anchorage, you know, because half the people in the state live in Anchorage.
Right.
So Anchorage is like 300, 350, and then the rest of the people live in the outlying. You
Yeah,
know, the
but
next
then that's
biggest city
spread,
is
yeah.
7 hours north, Fairbanks.
Right.
So
And it's
and
wilderness
that's just
from
halfway
there.
up to Prudhoe Bay. So
Yeah.
so it takes 14 hours, 14 to 18 hours to drive from Anchorage to Prudhoe Bay up at the top of the state. So it's a big state.
That is.
You know?
But even then, Larry was the only tattoo shop, pretty much the only shop in town when we got there. And now there's, 10 shops that are built right around
12.
Larry,
Oh,
like
it's fucked.
within.
Oh yeah, they're all
Yeah.
there for the slump.
Fucking
Yeah.
savages.
Yeah.
Just right around him. And he's not real into internet or
He spends half his time in Hawaii now, so he tattoos over in Hawaii. He doesn't tattoo in Anchorage anymore, so
yeah, but he
just his
still
family.
runs his shop. And
So what else?
what else?
That's it.
Do you have any questions?
You guys are fucking the easiest interview I've ever done in my life. I mean, do you guys have any of your greatest influences or stuff like that? Like,
Earliest, I loved Greg Iron's work.
right. Killer.
Don Nolan.
Ed Hardy.
Ed Hardy, well, influence, of course,
Yes.
Paul.
Right.
Okay, Paul, and that's another reason I dropped. I would say not many people know who we are, at all. We're used to walking, going, visiting a shop, and we'll say hi, and they'll say, "Who? What? Who are you?"
Right.
And it's always.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and it's always been like that. But Paul was, I always say, the epitome of generosity and kindness. He shared everything he knew with every tattooer, scumbag, whether you worked out of your toilet or you worked in a shop. I mean, if you were a decent person, he would come and work, and people came from all over the world. And this is not to say that to everybody, but when he died, there were only 7 of us at his funeral. 7 tattooers at his funeral from all over the world, and Eric had to actually pay somebody to carry his casket, Paul's casket. And so at that point, who the hell wants to go, hang out with everybody? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we sort of kept to our own, and then when we started meeting, nice people, and as I said, there's a lot of people that Paul really valued Paul. Many of them loved him and valued him,
Yes.
but there were so many, like I said, 7 people at his funeral, and to
Right.
me that's
This is ridiculous.
that's
That's
a shame, and
Right.
it's criminal,
Well,
especially.
and it showed his family. It wasn't a good testament for his family.
Yeah, that made me feel very bad because his sons didn't have tattoos. He has 3 sons who did not follow in his footsteps, and his wife was from a carnival family. She was like a snake handler, and his in-laws had, and I might be making a mistake about what it's called, but had like the pickled punk, like
Babies in a
things
jar.
Right. The curiosity.
your
thing, whatever,
Curiosities
yeah.
exhibition, and
Now
so
they have stores for that.
yeah,
And TV shows.
yeah, and he loved that, and what the hell? What's my point, honey? Where did I go with that? Oh, his sons. None of his sons had tattoos, and they didn't follow in it. And he devoted his whole life to, to tattooing. And people come all over the world, and he was always working in his workshop. And I had hoped when he died that at his funeral they would see
The return,
what his
right.
father, what their father
What an
devoted
impact.
his whole life to, that what he loved, and there was nobody there.
7 people.
Yeah, 7
Right.
people, and I always name the 7 people. Can I name them?
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, so it was myself, Doc Don Lucas, Eric Inksmith, Debbie Inksmith, Suzanne Fowler, J.D. Crow, and Lenny Duane. He was an ex-cop turned tattooer in Pennsylvania. That's 6. Did I say myself? No,
Yes,
7.
you forgot somebody.
I didn't forget somebody. Who? I don't forget. Doc Don Lucas, Debbie and Eric, Suzanne,
Lenny.
Lenny, J.G. Crow, and me.
You. Okay,
7 people.
Yeah.
So, and how, so that was a bummer.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
But now
Yeah.
Amy.
Everybody's
is,
in line with their hand out when there's something to be had.
Right.
It comes down to the reality of whether human nature, they're not there.
Now his granddaughter has is a website, you know, in her grandfather's name, you know,
Right, Amy.
you know, a Facebook thing, and she,
Right.
so, but
She gonna keep the legacy alive, or, you know.
tries to.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, of course, the Inksmiths now in, the
Great influence.
remember the 25th,
Eric, Mike
Mhm.
Wilson.
the 25th, anniversary
Anniversary.
party, his family came, and Paul's family came, and
That was a
yeah,
great-
and that was
that was great.
great, because there were all those people there, and all those people now who revere
His memory.
his memory,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what else?
Well, what about now? What are you guys doing now? What do you guys travel a lot? Like, I'm trying to, so people can get tattooed by you too. Because I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be hard to get somebody to get to Alaska to get tattooed by you. So what
It's
kind
not
of
that hard.
conventions do you do?
I mean, that's what I tell people, you know, I come here, you can come there, you
Right.
know. I mean,
Alaska's not on the way to anywhere but
I
Alaska.
know.
That's
right.
not,
Oh, that's it, yeah.
no one's got a
That's
layover
it.
in Alaska.
See, that's
for
the
a
nice
couple
thing
of
about
days.
living down in the lower 48 is number one, you don't get killed with shipping charges on all your supplies.
True.
You know, and secondly, you know, you can drive pretty much anywhere in a day. You know, where
Well,
if I
we're
drive a
working.
day, I'm still in Canada, or I'm barely to Canada. You know, so you know, so it's tough.
We've both been trying to work,
I traveled a lot this summer, more than I cared to.
But
you
as
know,
far
I was
as
out every month.
working-
I left state every month.
No, but as far as working, why are we working? We worked
Yeah,
in,
but
we
you know,
worked
my
here.
thing is I got plenty of work at home. So if I leave, I don't mind doing a tattoo here and there. You know, I'm working this weekend, but I would rather, you know, I haven't gotten to talk to anybody this weekend hardly. You know?
Actually, I haven't.
Yeah. So
I've
it-
walked down one aisle.
Yeah, I
To
haven't
deliver
done it yet,
pastries to
so-
somebody. And deliver vegan
my-
treats to Oliver's
Yeah.
lady.
yeah. So
No, I think this is also only so we stopped out,
this
we
is our
dropped
7th
out,
year coming to.
but we
San
didn't
Jose,
go
San
to any
Francisco.
conventions for about 8
Well,
years,
raising
because we were
families in the
pissed
military.
off. We went to that one national in Nashville because we lived there, and then we decided, because of the whole Paul thing, we went with like a church army group. We stopped at the San Antonio convention. I was like, okay, we're making a side trip here, and we
Yeah.
went to that San Antonio convention. So we never ever worked conventions, and we never wanted to, because we
Right.
always figured if we're going away, you make money at home.
Right.
It was totally different, you know,
It was more of a social
mindset.
thing.
It was
Right.
more of a social thing. So, when did I work the first convention ever? It was last year.
Oh,
Was
here.
it?
Yeah,
Ever.
this last.
Ever.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
that's right.
Last
The
year?
first
Yeah.
convention she ever did
Ever.
was last year.
35
And
years,
boy, she is
ever.
a fucking racket conventions.
Even yesterday or 2 days ago, Don was setting up, because then I worked
Friday night,
Cleveland,
yeah.
but we worked together.
Yeah.
And then I worked here. So this is only the third convention I've ever worked and tattooed at. And
Rallies.
biker rallies and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
Yeah, that's
kinda like
true.
that,
Yeah, but I was so overwhelmed and nervous then for other reasons, for being new.
Right.
What's our time hack?
You are exactly 1 hour. You're fine.
Oh, okay.
We're
Then what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about
I was just making sure the battery is still kind of.
yeah, I think working at conventions, trying to do, you don't have to, because Don's so technically proficient. I'm like, that's another thing, you know, people say, oh, Paul, you have all your notes, and what did you do? And I'm like what is the word? I'm like
I'm not gonna say
challenged, technically, no. I'm
Touched.
technically I think I'm handicapped or something. What is it called when you can't do something like math handicapped, or I'm technically inept. I am. So it's like giving somebody all this great knowledge, and it's like, are you kidding me? This is the one who has to carry
This is the one
it.
you've chosen.
Yeah, because like the other day, I had to, you know, our TV has like 7 things to turn it on. And so Don drew me a diagram.
We have a TV with a PlayStation, so you can watch Netflix and
Right.
Hulu.
To get from the
So-
PlayStation on there, so he drew me a diagram, and that's how it was with Paul. He was so patient, and you know, so he was so simple in his explanation, and while I was there, I understood and I knew. But now it was like I'm technically inept. So going to a convention, I'm always concerned something's gonna happen or whatever.
Right.
But people, we did go and like people will come get souvenirs from me.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like only
That's
people,
gonna,
of course, who know me.
it's gonna happen. I mean, people are gonna watch this and be like, oh man, those people are killer. I want to get a tattoo from those guys.
Yeah, that's it. This is we've been waiting for
But the
this.
two
This is our
conventions that I
market.
really like, I like this one. I love this convention,
Uh-huh.
and then I love the Cleveland convention.
Cleveland, okay.
Yeah,
When is
Cleveland Tattoo
Cleveland?
Expo.
Coming up, right?
It's in July.
July.
July
July.
28th this year.
Oh, is
Because
it? My
Don's-
birthday.
Yeah, Don's from Cleveland.
Right.
Because
so
I'm from
then
Cleveland, so
his
I get to go
whole
home and see my
family-
dad and work.
And he just tattooed
So-
his dad, who's 80 years old.
Yeah,
He
did his
so-
whole back. One
His
sitting.
whole back?
Yeah.
One sitting. I mean, it's a real loose, open back. You know, it's like
But
a
it's
bonsai
top
tree
to
and
the
a
bottom.
hawk. Because he said, oh, the next time I come up there, I want you to tattoo me. And I said, what do you want to get, Dad? You know, and he said, a hawk.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
And Edna May, his mom
I
passed.
said,
and she got
he
that.
said a hawk in a tree, and he said, I said, how big do you want it? He said, oh, about the size of my hand, or maybe a little bigger. And I said, that's gonna be tough, you know, getting a hawk, you know, bird recognizable, you know, with a tree. He said, no, I want the hawk about as big as my hand. He said, the tree I want to cover my back. And I was like, all right.
Okay.
So, and he sat like a fucking rock. So that's obviously where I
80
get
years
my,
old, sat like a rock.
Yeah.
That's where I
I
get
had
my
some
tolerance
21-year-old yesterday. I couldn't sit still for a fucking leg tattoo.
But he does he gotten a lot of tattoos. Don's
Yeah.
tattooed his
Whole family except my mom.
Yeah.
Mom never
Wow.
was that into tattoos.
Yeah, but you did her name on your dad the
Yeah,
same year you did his back.
that's my favorite tattoo I've ever done in my 24 years of tattooing is when I tattooed my mom's name. My mom passed 3 years ago, and Dad got her name and a forget-me-not.
Awesome.
Which is the state flower of Alaska.
Oh, killer.
Forget-me-not, yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
And anything else?
No, that's it. Anything you want to add? Want to say thank you to anybody or tell anybody to fuck off or?
I've already done that,
Yeah,
haven't I?
I
All for the
like to do
video.
that in person.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for doing
Thank
it.
you, Scott.
Thank you.